G'day and welcome to the workshop. I realised something recently. I've been doing some knife making for maybe a couple of years and I've made some pretty decent knives. These shapes are pretty good, the geometry's nice, they are nice to use in the kitchen. These have been forged, hand forged. But what I realised is I don't really have any skills in blacksmithing apart from knife shapes, and I think understanding traditional techniques, being able to tape a bar, make patterns, and just basically be able to move steel in any way that I see fit would be really useful. So I've set myself a bit of a task where I'm going to learn some skills in blacksmithing which aren't oriented towards knife making, but at the same time will definitely help my knife making skills. So today I'm going to try making out of some bar stock, some leaves. This is what they look like. And blacksmiths use these for all sorts of things, usually very decorative. You can make hooks and you can make bracelets, you can make hair ties, things like that. I'm not going to worry about anything like that. All I want to do is make a leaf with a little bit of a stem, so that includes tapering, isolating a part at the end, then drawing out and refining a bit of a stem, and then cutting off. So I'm just going to try to use up this piece of bar. I'll probably go through more pieces of bar, just making leaves over and over and over, and I'll show you the process and I'll show you the results of the first one, and then hopefully after about 10 it's going to be much better. So basically the way it's going to work is you start by creating a short taper at the end of the bar, and that creates the top of the leaf, and then we come over the edge and with about an inch worth of material we isolate that inch, and that isolates the end of the leaf, and then we come up a little bit, we draw out the stem of the leaf, and then we will forge the leaf itself. That's the theory. Let's give it a go. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by creating a small taper on the end. So we're just drawing out a tip. This tip is probably a little bit long. Probably wanted it a bit shorter, but that's all right. It's our first try. Now we're going to isolate the end. And we're just going to do 90-degree turns on two sides. We're going to hit half on and half off the anvil. Oops, not very great, but see how we're trying to create flat on this side and then a ridge on the other side, which is where the leaf will be. Okay, just a bit more isolating. I reckon that's quite nice. See how we've got a little bit of a ridge here, which isn't ideal, but that's pretty well isolated. I don't know how thin I should be going. Just planish this a little bit, straighten things up a little. Okay, so the next step is going to be starting up here a little bit and drawing this out and thinning it out so it becomes like the stem of the leaf. Now, drawing out is really not my strong point, but let's have a go. We're working on all four sides. And just working up with a piece of steel and trying, I guess, to sort of planish the edges as we go. I'm going to get crucified by anybody who actually knows what they're doing here. Now up the end here, I don't want to keep on turning it over because if I hit the leaf, it'll squash out. So Let's do a bit of planishing, and then I'll get it back in the forge for another heat. Right, let's draw this out a bit further. And every turn, we're bringing it closer to me. Alright, now, as I think I said, I'm not going to be making this beautiful. For now, I just want to see if I can make a leaf. So I should usually draw that out a lot thinner along here. That's really thick for a leaf, obviously. But I'm going to just try and make the leaf end now, seeing this is my first one. This part is V shape, and that'll help to spread the wings out. I'm going to have to heat this again. Spread the wings out to make our leaf shape. So, hitting down on that V shape. And using the shape of the hammer to spread the start of a leaf. And now I'm going to switch to a crossbeam hammer. I want to start coming down on the sides, which will help spread them out, as well as try to keep away from the center, so I can create like a vein down the middle. Kind of like that. Not bad for the first run. I'm going to come down trying to avoid the center. Okay. Now let's just take the edges off some of these right angles. I find it really difficult to get in close quarters there. So just rounding some of the edges off. So I might just have one more heat and try to get rid of some of the thickness. Alright, lesson learned. I think I just need to make sure I get that right early on. Anyways, number one, and we will only get better. So this is just a little hot cut chisel I made. There. Alright, so this is first attempt at a leaf. Not awesome, but not super bad. I guess it's got the shape of a leaf. So that was the theory. Now I just have to make another 10 or so and see if I get any better. There's a huge amount of room for improvement. Obviously getting the stem a lot thinner, working on the thickness of the actual leaf itself, getting a spine down there. I guess at some point I'll also use the chisel to create leaf style marks in it. But for the first one, I think I will leave that one just where it is. I'll also show you how I made this super simple, hardy chisel at some point. Really handy, just another little hack. All right, so the first 3, I haven't done 10 yet. Just wanted to stop at 3 and see what we got. So this one, the drawing out was pretty rubbish. All along stem, just very thick. Shape isn't too bad, but it's also not great. This second one's actually a bit neater, to be honest. The leaf shape is a bit neater. There's no ridge line down the middle like this one's got, but overall I think it's definitely a little better. Cross section is slightly thinner, so that's nice, and the stem, which in the end actually definitely wants to be a lot thinner than that, it's not too bad. It's getting all right. And then the third one here, leaf shape isn't too bad. It's got a little bit more artistic style to it. There's a bit of a ridge down the middle, and the stem is reasonably thick. Getting better. Let's see what happens after 10. All right, so let's look at what we got from start to finish. I kind of think the first couple weren't too bad, and then it definitely, I think it got better, but we had a bit of a mishap here. I got so excited that I was making a really nice stem that I cut it off and forgot to actually make the leaf. This one here, number 10, unfortunately I went a bit too much on the end, trying to make it a little skinnier, and it broke. Just stretched it a bit too far. However, let's have a quick look. So what do we got? Very thick, very rudimentary, but a start. The leaf shape on this one was not too bad at all, to be honest. But once again, pretty rudimentary, and then the stem's pretty thick. Starting to get a little nicer on the stem, just that's pretty average, all of that one. This one's starting to look a little nicer. So that was, I started to think about what I was doing a bit more rather than just bashing out some shape. I started to think about how the metal was moving. So the shape of this one is much nicer, much nicer. Got a little bit of ridge. The outsides of the leaves flare out a lot more. The stem is starting to get a little thinner, so that's nice. Not sure what happened with this one. I think I lost my mojo a little bit. This one, as I said, I was starting to really work on the stem and it was looking really nice. But I got a little bit excited about it and forgot to do the leaf. So anyhow, I was feeling good with that one, but it didn't work. This one I actually felt really good about. It's not a bad shape. End's pretty thick, not ideal. But I actually got a bit confident and did a little bend in that one. And then, as I said, I think I just worked this one a little bit too cold. It was a bit bent like this, tried to bend it back, which stressed it a bit, and then one last hit at the end, and it fractured. So what have I learned? Firstly, the results definitely got better, marginally, but they definitely got better. And what I was feeling was that even though I was doing the same actions, the basics became easier, so I could start concentrating on little tweaks and refining and thinning out a little bit more. So you just kind of get better at the nuance and the detail. I've got a long way to go. Alex Steele says make like 100 of these and then you'll start to refine your craft. That was 10, that took about an hour, so I should probably keep on going, but right now I'm not. I was pretty happy with that, and I think some of the techniques I learned are definitely going to help with my knife making, and even the mistakes I've learned something from. In fact, you often learn more from your mistakes than you do from your wins, so there's nothing lost there. Anyway, I will keep making these over time, just refine the craft a bit, but I enjoyed that. That was good. Recommend you give it a go, refine your hammer technique, learn how steel's moving in all these different directions. If you've made it this far, I hope you're enjoying them, and I'd really love a like and a subscribe, and some comments are always welcome. Thank you so much and have a great day.